What's going on YouTube? Ryan from Slow Your Roll here. Today I'm putting together a video on reinforcing some of the critical areas of the base camp in preparation for a ski trip that Laura and I are going to be making next week. There's three primary areas in the base camp I'm concerned with. The first is the bench I'm sitting on right now, which holds all of our utilities, the HVAC, the water system. The second is the battery bank, which has two vents built into the base camp. That's in case you have lead acid batteries. It has to off gas, so that's what those vents are for. Since we've switched over to lithium, there's no reason for those vents to be in there, and it allows the cold air to come up through the floor and through the side of the base camp, right behind the front rock pad. Third, which is not super critical, but we're just kind of worried about it, is the lines to the sink are right up against the exterior wall of the base camp underneath your kitchen cabinet. So what we're going to do is we're going to reinforce those with a little bit of insulation to make sure that they don't contact the side of the base camp and freeze if it gets below freezing, or we have a heating failure with the Suburban heater. So one of the products I decided to use based off my research and watching several videos that a lot of van life folks use, or people that are just doing van conversions or camper conversions, is Havelock wool. So this is unsolicited. I purchased this myself. This was about $150 for, I believe it's 100 square feet. It's kind of the lowest you can buy on their website. Havelock wool, so it's all natural. It's better at absorbing moisture, which in a RV, a van, any type of thing where you're living in and you've got extreme fluctuations with temperature. So if the exterior is cold and you've got heat inside, that's naturally going to produce condensation. Condensation that sits for a while is bad. It deteriorates materials. It creates mold. Wool, naturally occurring product that is able to absorb moisture, and then basically as the temperature heats up, it dispels that back into the air. So that's why we kind of went with this. Another thing is it's easy to handle. You don't need any protective equipment. You don't need gloves. You don't need a mask. You don't need eye protection. Similar to what you would use to install fiberglass installation. All right. So what we're going to do is I'll get this out of the box. We'll talk about the material a little bit more, and then I'll film each of the areas that I'm going to cover by insulating in a couple different parts. The wool itself comes out of the box in these 16.5 by 45 inches roughly sections. Each piece is about 2 inches thick. Now the first area I'm going to concentrate on is this utility cabinet under the bench on the driver's side. So this has all of our water lines. It's got our water heater and then the Suburban furnace. So as you can see, I'll try to get a close-up here. This goes down and accesses the tanks. And you've got some other water pipes going to the front of the base camp, going into the bathroom. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that there's a layer between that vinyl flooring right there and the pipes. And then in addition, making sure that the exterior walls have plenty of insulation as well. Here's the finished product for the utility cabinet. As you can see, I lined the exterior walls with the Havelock wool. So basically just measured, and then you can cut it with a pair of scissors or a utility knife. I wanted to make sure that the exterior shell was completely insulated, especially around the pipes. I thought about doing the flooring as well, but looking at where some of the lines run, I don't want the wool to prevent the heat from reaching the pipes. Basically these heat lines right here keep this compartment warm and prevent the pipes from freezing. The next area we're going to address is under the kitchen sink. As we move into here, you can see that there's a little space between the cabinetry under the sink in the wall, the exterior wall of the base camp, and that's the water line going to the sink, and then the P-trap that goes to your gray tank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide a piece of Havelock wool between these 2 points, making sure that the pipes are in front of the Havelock wool and the exterior of the base camp. You can see under the sink, this board right here, you can remove that. You just remove the 4 white tabs covering the screws, Phillips head screws. Take this board off, it's going to make it a lot easier, and then you just basically stuff the insulation behind the pipes. And you're good to go. In the battery compartment, you've got what used to be the hose to off-gas the lead-acid batteries. So the end of this was connected to a plastic cover, and the cover sat over the battery box. So what I did was I just stuffed paper towels in there, but this vents to the outside of the trailer, which I'll show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect this pipe since I no longer need it, since it's in the way. And then we're going to put a piece of Flex Seal over the opening so that the wind doesn't get in, or the breeze or the cold. And then what we'll do is we'll line the exterior shell here of the base camp with some more Havelock wool. In addition, if you can see through here, that vents to the bottom of the base camp, and you've got some electrical wires going through there. So we're going to cover that up as well. Unfortunately, the way that they had this installed, they must have installed it from the exterior first, because the locking washer here that goes around that ring is inaccessible. It's a Phillips head, but it's like way in here, so I couldn't get to it. So I basically just took a utility knife and then cut off the excess. So now what we'll do is we'll measure this piece here, and then I'll put a piece of Flex Seal over it, and then we'll insulate it. So now we're just going to dry fit it, just to make sure it's big enough. Yeah, it's more than adequate. So you just got to be careful with this stuff because it is extremely sticky. And there we go. No more breeze. As you can see, we put a 28-inch long by 16-inch high piece of Havelock wool along the shell of the base camp. And then down here as well, because that's where that exterior vent to the bottom of the base camp was. We covered that up as well. And it's pretty, I mean, it's, you know, it's not scientific. It's insulation. You just kind of shove it in there. Make sure it's not going to move anywhere. It was good with the water pipes. The water pipes had like a natural retention. Here I'm probably just going to put a couple of pieces of duct tape to make sure that it doesn't move and it stays in place. But that's it. It's pretty easy. The next part of the insulation upgrade I'm doing is the Fantastic fan. For these fans, including the Max fan, which is a little bit more temperature control, this thing only has a thin plastic rain guard standing between us and the outside conditions. So I found this item on Amazon. It's from Van Essentials, and it supposedly fits all fantastic in Max Air fans, the standard opening. I did hold it up to this one, and it does fit just right. It's got magnets, one in each corner and then one in between. And then basically what I'm going to do is remove this plastic piece right here, put the magnets inside it, and then this thing should just stick to the top. This thing is already cracked up here, probably just due to vibration, but I'm going to have to replace this plastic flange anyway. And then, just so you can witness this, because it doesn't happen often in Oklahoma, we got snow. All right, back to work. What the instructions say is to take your plastic vent flange right here, lay it on top of the Van Essentials cover so that it's flat. It comes with a bag of magnets, and then you essentially, things are strong, you lay these down on the flange and it'll find the reciprocal magnet on the other side. All right, you end up with one spare magnet. So then you can just kind of maneuver this around to make sure you got the coverage that you want. This actually looks really good. And then the only thing I gotta watch out for is I've got one that's really close to the pilot hole there. So you can either glue these down, or because I have to replace this eventually, I'm just gonna duct tape them in place. And then just to note, they're not completely recessed. They will stick up a little bit above this lip, but I don't think that's going to be a huge concern. All right, so not the prettiest completion, but it does the job. Then we'll just remove the cover. Make sure these aren't going anywhere. All right, we'll get the flange back in place. Make sure the wires are stuck in there. I'm just going to put a piece of duct tape right there to help me hold it up. So we've got the flange reinstalled, the magnets. Let's see how it works. All right, honestly, not great. I don't know if if these magnets moved while we're drilling it back in, but the sides are not attaching. It's okay for now, but definitely gonna have to look at other options. Figured out the hack. With this extra magnet here, some of the magnets in the fabric are gonna adjust as you move it around. Take the extra magnet, find out where on the plastic they stick, and then move the magnet on here to that position. Now, when we overlay this, we get both the sides and the top. Now it's nice and secure. One of the swaps we made was for this existing USB port here on the kitchenette. So it used to be 2 USB ports, and I swapped it out for a 12 volt. That's because I wanted something close to the bed that we could plug a 12 volt heated blanket inside. It was an easy enough swap. Again, we just took the existing wiring, and then I spliced the two together using a butt connector. It took me about 5 minutes, but now we have 12 volt access over here. We also added an internal-external thermostat by Thermopro. So in the box, you get the sensor and the display. So this will give you your inside temperature, which is indicated down here, 49 degrees currently. And then it also comes with a sensor you can place anywhere else. So we place the sensor outside. Probably not in a good location since it's reading 62 degrees, and I don't think it's higher than 40 degrees right now. Right now, the sensor's mounted inside the propane locker. I did that just to keep it safe from the elements. But to get an accurate reading, you're going to want to put it outside where it's reading the air temperature. But again, I'll link these in the description below. It's got a nice little light up top that shuts off automatically. And then we just mounted it using 3M strips. So that way I can get access to the battery panel and take the batteries out when we're not using it for an extended period of time. And then we can just connect it right back to the wall. Just like that. Finally, we added this. This is another thermostat, but it reads over Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So this is going to tell us the temperature and humidity inside the base camp via an app on my phone. As long as this is connected to Wi-Fi, I can be anywhere and I can get an accurate reading of the temperature and humidity wherever I am. So typically it's kind of hanging right here for now, but I usually place it down here to get an accurate reading of what the temperature is inside that utility bin or utility bench. Like I said, it runs over Wi-Fi. What we use for Wi-Fi is this MiFi from a company called Roam. I like this because it's agnostic of any particular cell carrier. So it basically pulls whatever the strongest cell signal is in the area, whether that's AT&T or Verizon, and then it's pay-as-you-go. So you're not stuck to a plan or anything like that, because we might use it 1 or 2 times a month. So I don't want to waste money on a monthly plan in addition to what we have at the house. That's it, folks, for today's video. I think the base camp is ready for some cold weather camping conditions. We've got our utility bench insulated, and we've identified all the kind of open points for air to come in. We've got a series of monitors to make sure that the temperature inside notifies us if it gets below freezing. Our battery bank is squared away and insulated now, and we've covered up all the previous vents from when we had the lead acid batteries in there. So if you have any questions, please comment below. Let me know. Let me know if you think this is overkill, if I wasted my money. In addition, if anybody needs any Havelock wool, I've got about 3/4 of a box remaining. It'll be yours for $75. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.